Abdul ko ba zon ta for the tat for dana the mahu hadus I should be getting a color. And Nuki Fina I should call the work ko ba should call. Na at the corner fi kalu. And Nuki fer gun should call wa kalu fer continue. And Nuki wait kalu wa kalu wa man. Akino anjihu keme fer gun should call wa khapka peido. Akino akhwenu kodik no kafili fi kalu. Keme tabu kama tafazi kalu ni emi fi kalu. And Nuki kaba habo. Kalu na Nuki. Kalu Yaku Nugeki, Kalu Babu Nugemi. We ain't all parastinkies and these who divine love and all. I am in the love of all and all love is me. We are all in all. I am a part of all and all is a part of me. I am one with all and all is one. I could succeed as a part of all and fail as an individual. I can be all I wish and all as long as I wish to stay in all. I am never alone. All is I am. All can I can. All does I do. Who am I?
Cool. We're going to be reading the Sacred Wisdom of Tehuti. I'm going to start with the author's note. I have devoted my visit to this planet to the resurrection of the mentally dead, which I affectionately refer to it as mummies. Never did I know that the evil one had done such a great job with these people, both mentally and physically, as to have them hate self and kind. My greatest dilemma and hindrance has been the Black Devil. Born amongst you and by you, married to you, socializing with you, praying in the same sacred houses of worship as you. But secretly, they have a spiritual pact with the devil, which makes it near impossible for them to totally surrender to Nuwapu. But for the few chosen from the many called, I sift to find those beings that wish to become one with the Supreme in all. So I, the Supreme Grand Hierophant Amun Nibi Ra Akhta, as I am known throughout the mystical schools, the incarnation of Tehuti, Thoth, student of the great Tum, known as Atum Re, the first point of resurrection from ignorance to the right knowledge, the right wisdom, and the right understanding. I have blended in with each of the religions most interesting to my people. I lived as one of them, practiced as one of them, in order to reveal the misconceptions of these doctrines that have plagued and diseased the minds of my people. Amongst the Arabs of Islam and the degree of Muhammadism, I was known as Sayyid Isa el-Hadi el-Mahdi, or simply Imam Isa. Being fluent in the many dialects, as well as the classical Arabic language, I translated word for word without biasness in favor of the Islamic religion. The Quran, from Syriac Arabic into English, I sat beneath the great Shawuf as a student, one of which was Muhammad Mahmud, or Mahmud Muhammad Mahmud, and the great master Karima Sheikh el-Hassoun of the Kaiwatiya order of Sufis out of Sudan, as a Mahdiya or Ansar. As a Moorish American under Noble Drew Ali as M. York L., I republished and revised the Holy Quran Circle 7. Their connection with the NOI, or Nation of Islam, known as the Black Muslims, encouraged me to do an in-depth study of the teachings of Master W.D. Fard, Allah in person to his final messenger, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I released several books explaining in depth their doctrine, which led me to another ex-member of the Nation of Islam called Clarence 13X. I self-studied Allah, who founded the 5% nation of gods and goddesses. I collected data and published the problem book, their interpretation of the English class lessons of the Nation of Islam. Amongst the Hebrew Israelites, while in the degree of Mosesism, I was known as Rabboni Yeshua Bar el-Hadi. As a Hebrew, I was bar mitzwahed by the great Rabbi Matthews of Harlem through the School of Judaism. I translated the Torah and the Psalms from the ancient Hebrew into English. Amongst the Christians in the degree of Christism, I was known as Reverend Malachi Z. York, or Dr. York, pastor and founder of the Egyptian Church of Christ, through the school of Christism. I translated and explained the book of Revelation from the Galilean Arabic and the ancient Greek. In this day and time, I received a new holy tablet, our own scripture that each day, as scientists, astronomers, paleontologists, and the likes, uncover new evidence confirming that it was indeed divinely inspired. And it is not merely a book, but a revelation, a holy scripture with prophecies of the future, which are manifesting daily. Also, I translated the book of the coming forth by day, called the Egyptian Book of the Dead, with hieroglyphics as Amanubi Ra'akta. I also released a series of books called Behind the Nine Ball and Bible Interpretations and Explanations. I felt it my duty as the true reformer and savior to my people to make that which is unclear clear. I have also revealed the doctrine of those called the Hebrew Israelites and the likes with a series of books called 360 Questions to Ask and 3 volumes of over 1,000 pages each entitled The Degree of Mosesism, The Degree of Christism, and The Degree of Muhammadism, covering any question that anyone could have pertaining to any of the 3 monotheistic religions. I have also traveled the rough and rugged path of Freemasonry and have arrived at the Imperial Grand Potentate internationally of the ancient Arabic and Oriental Order, nobles of the Mystic Shrine, New Mecca Temple, number 11 in Macon, Georgia, and IGP of AEO and NMS, El Mahdi Temple, number 19, Edenton, Georgia, Northern and Southern Jurisdiction, the Worshipful Master of Nuwabian Lodge, number 3 in Edenton, Georgia, AF and AM, also a 33-degree Deputy Grand Master for the state of Georgia, Northern and Southern Jurisdiction, AF and AM Scottish Rite Freemason of Amos Grand Lodge of Macon, Georgia. I entered the order of Achaia or Acacia under the most worshipful master, the ill, Charles Tinsley, the 33-degree at King Solomon's Lodge, number 4 of Brooklyn, New York, the Grand Enoch Lodge in Brooklyn, New York on Putnam and Nostrand Avenue, Prince Hall affiliated, and of the ancient and accepted Scottish Rite Freemasonry, AF and AM, jurisdiction of Georgia called Zerubbabel, Grand Chapter Royal Ark Mason, United States and Canada. My travels took me throughout the world from to sitting with the mystics and monks under the Tibetan master Lama Mot Kokomol or Kokomao of China, to the Grand Lodge in Cairo, Egypt, Northeast Africa, to being a member of the Rosicrucian Order since 1974 AD, as well as Astera Mystic Order since 1975 AD for more than 25 years. As a Supreme Grand Hierophant of the Ancient Egyptian Order AEO Mir, or Pyramid, number 9, my family has been Freemasons for generations in Virginia's Zen Shriner Temple, number 122, Newport News, Virginia, and Daughters of Isis, Zen Court, number 98, Prince Hall affiliated. I stepped on to the White Lodge Freemasonry from the Black Egyptian mystery as Tehuti, Thoth, or Thorth, called Hermes, thrice times great, the possessor of the master's key, keeper of the secret word to become a Haru, or Horus, a companion of the great Hierophant, I am Hotep, the scribe of the secret doctrine, conferrer of the 720 degrees in the secret number 9, and the guardian of the 9th gate, raising from the 9th chamber, the secret, which will give you the power to realign yourselves. I was there, which is here, when the word, let there be light, was uttered. I have stood the test of time. I have been questioned by scholars and historians of all religions and denominations. I am capable of answering the unanswered and solving the problems of the world, yet my personal interest is in each and every one of you. I am not a holy man or a preacher. I am a master teacher. I have resurrected in the West, the ancient fraternity, AEO, with healing in my wings, the spiritual order of our ancestors, the Egyptians, and your true bloodline under the reincarnation of Nitir Amanubi Ra'akta, your Afriti or Afirti, Pharaoh, for this day and time, Atum Re. I have experienced all the religions and sacred orders, and now I bring to you the ancient Egyptian order AEO, the true order of the Egyptians that which gave birth to all others, and it in this day and time has become the fastest growing movement for world peace of the new millennium. You have found your way to that which you have sought all your life. Don't believe a word I say, check it out for yourself. Only fools duck when the truth is thrown at them. Grand means powerful, big, and great. Hierophant is of two parts. Hero, which means sacred, and font, which means to show or reveal. The great revealer of that which is sacred. The student of Amun Nibu Ra'akta, the supreme grand Hierophant. Afirti Atumre, incarnation of Tehuti. The Master's Key. I, the Supreme Grand Hierophant of the ancient Egyptian order, take great pleasure in presenting this corrected document of a most misunderstood and underappreciated doctrine. It was presented as the Kybalion, which, when in fact it was a very poor interpretation by the Hyksos or Canaanites of that or of what they wish the great Grand Hierophant or Tehuti's, Thorf's works for the world were about. And the onlookers were misinformed in order to sway the truth seeker from the right path to the blinding light of European belief systems, and the secret doctrines were all but lost. However, this scroll work is based upon a resurrection of the world-old teachings of the Egyptian Grand Hierophant known by many names, Tehuti, presented to you in this day and time via an incarnation. A wish on the part of the original, to have this record set straight, sent it, and signified it through myself. I have been known by many names: Amanubi Ra'akta, Isa El Hadi El Mahdi, El Mukhlas, El Mujaddid, Elam Musjadista El Kut, Melchizedek, El Kedar, Murdoch, Chief Black Eagle, Malachi, and finally back to Amun Nibu Ra'akta. In all of the depictions and drawings of Tehuti on the walls of tombs and monuments in Tamare, Egypt, you see Tehuti drawn with a green hue, which is what the Muslims refer to as El Kedar, again stemming from ancient Egypt. They are all the same with different names and different cultures. I am who I am. Originally named either Jehuti or Zehuti by Pa Tamarayat, the Egyptians, Tehuti Thoth, or was given his better known name by the Greeks. They linked him with their own god or Theos, the deity or supreme being, Hermes in Greek. He becomes the son of Zeus and Maya, and Zeus was the son of Kronos and Rhea. None of this is true. They just took this Egyptian and tried to make him theirs and changed his teachings. And this Hermes was considered to be the Greek Theos, deity or God supreme beings of wisdom, writing, and invention to the Greeks. They get their word Theos from the Egyptian supreme being Theoris or Theoiris, a goddess of women in childbirth, protectress of babies. This is the word used in your Bible. New Testament in the Greek for God, Tehuti, was also the messenger and spokesman of the Neterat, supreme beings, as Tehuti. And finally, a lunar Nitir, supreme being, under the sun god Re or Ra. You can see the Greek word Theos came from the hieroglyphic word Tehuti or Thoth. The worship of Tehuti dates from the pre-dynastic period, which itself dates back before 10,500 years, and his standards appear on artifacts of this time. And his name, Jehuti, indicates that he originated in the Hebetiat nomes of Tehuti and Lower Egypt. He is represented as a man with the head of an abyss bird, which is often crowned by the crescent Moon. The baboon is also sacred to him, for in Khimenu or Hermopolis, he merged with the local baboon Nitir, supreme being Hedjwe. According to the Semat, the funeral priest, and the Wabat, the spiritual priest of Khimenu, Hermopolis, it was Tehuti in the form of an abyss who hatched, by the power of his voice alone, the world egg from which all creation issued. Other stories relate that in the chaos of noon, he awoke from eons of slumber and opening his mouth issued the first sound, Kum. The original sound assumed form and became the first 8 beings, 4 Netirat, gods, supreme beings, and 4 Netirtat, goddess, supreme beings. The Rushanat, the Ogdwads, who represented the elemental forces that existed before the creation. The Big Bang was not a bang, but rather a kum, which became the sound of om, some say om or om, amun to on, nature, and of course min, with the staff of life, the Tubal Cain. Thoth was the Greek renderance of the Egyptian hieroglyphic Tehuti, scribe of the Netirat, and personification of divine intellect, thus patron of learning and literature. As I said, he was wrongly equated with or as Hermes by the Greeks, who was also part of Hyksos from Japheth's son Javan, in Genesis 10:2 of the Torah. The Hebrews prove that the Greek were also from the Hebrew by way of Noah's son Japheth, whose son Javan was Ionian, which is Grecia, Greece, found in Strong's Greek and Hebrew lexicon, number 320, Yavan. So the Heka Kasut, or Hyksos, were Hebrews and Greeks. Tehuti uttered the words commanded by Ra, that created the world, which was Koum. The chief site of worship of Tehuti, Thoth, was called Khimenu, Hermopolis, by the Greeks. There Tehuti was called master of the city of 8, the Ogdwad. This referred to the 4 pairs of primordial supreme beings called 1. Night, 2. Obscurity, 3. Secret, and 4. Eternity. These shadowy supreme beings are portrayed with the heads of frogs and serpents. That is, they were in deeds and action human reptilians. They symbolize the very first stage of growth, called creation, as it emerged out of the mud formed by the union of heaven and earth, air, water, and dirt. Tehuti is portrayed as an ibis-headed male figure, or sometimes as all ibis. That is, a man wearing the ibis bird mask. This is due to the ibis's reputation for devouring serpents and/or because of its aquatic lunar habits and nature. Tehuti was intimately connected with a variety of lunar functions relating to cycles of time, measure, and movement, as divine scribe Tehuti is frequently encountered in judgment scenes recording the verdict returned by the balance, or in temple friezes recording the deeds of the rulers into eternity. Tehuti is the recorder who keeps the record of our deeds and thoughts. The Nebu, Lord of divine words, or words of power, the thrice great. As you know, Tehuti's name is also spelled Jehuti, Zahuti, and Thoth, from which you get the word thought. He was the recorder of time as Kanum. is the keeper of time. Nitir, or supreme being, of learning and right knowledge, right wisdom, and right understanding, giving both information and outformation, again associated with the moon. He was called Nebshil An, master of heaven, Nefir Shil Ushat, beautiful of night, and Sekhet Bashur, silent being. As previously said, he is seen as a man with the head of an abyss mask, considered his theophany. From Kemenu, Hermophilus, he is sometimes seen as the dog-headed ape, and rituals symbolizing the lower nature of man and mankind. He was the master teacher of priests and physicians, and looked on at the creation of mortals. Master inventor of magic. He was also with Haru, Horus, as the healer of both Setuch, Set, and Haru, Horus. Wounds in the battle between good and evil, as your Torah, Bible, and Quran would have you believe that Setuch was not evil, as Haru was not all good. They both had will to be agreeable and disagreeable. Tehuti is the Natir, supreme being of peace and love between beings. Through wisdom, you will have peace and love between disagreeable beings. Right knowledge of self and others frees you from hate and prejudice. Right wisdom frees you from blindness about your past, and the right understanding frees you from hate of self and teaches you love for self and kind. Tehuti was the Natir, supreme being of writing, science, medicines, and formulas. He was the secretary of the Natirat. He invented alchemy. He has assisted mortals by writing many works of science, in particular books on solar biology and astronomy, mathematics, and medicine. 46 records of his is kept secret from the hands of the beast man, the evil ones. Tehuti was the keeper of the records in existence and destiny, and the time of the renewal of all history, which comes around every 24,000 years. Each cycle, each moment, second, minute, hour, day, week, month, year, generation, jubilee, century, millennium, equinox, precision, epoch. Tehuti came down from the serpent Cyrus, and he also spent time in Sahul, Orion, and was a part of the Moon and Mars projects and the seeding of this planet. Being a man from planet Risk in the 19th galaxy called Ilion, he has no mother or father, beginning of days nor end of days. He was also known as Melchizedek, El Kedar, Rahma, Yanun, El Kut, the spokesperson for the deities. He was also found in the records of Tehuti in Lower Egypt, along with his mask of the abyss bird, which they use as a dove in other religions born out of Egypt. He is crowned by the crescent moon, master of the moon cycle, and all those beings created therein. This is why the Caucasoids worship him in their secret lodges and temples, which is also where the Muslim world get the worship and following of the moon for all their religious ceremonies from, like their fast, Ramadan. The gods Allah and his wife Alat were moon or lunar gods of old Arabia. Allah being the sun or star, and Alat being the moon or crescent, called in Quran the light of the heavens and the earth. A whole chapter in the Quran is devoted to the sun, Quran 91, and the moon, Quran 54, the stars, Quran 53, and even the zodiac, Quran 85. So they pray under the star and crescent. Just look at the Muslim mosque with stars and crescents on top of them. It also comes from Egypt, but the Jews, Hebrews, Israelites use the star for their god Yahweh. The baboon is sacred to him, for on earth at Kiminu, or Hermolopolis, he merged with the local baboon Nitir supreme being Hejwir, or Hejwir, the great white one, part of the seed of the beast man used in their gratification according to the Wabat, priest of Kiminu. It was Tehuti in the form of Ibis who hatched by the power of his voice alone, saying, "Be or exist," and the world egg from which all creation issued, meaning he did the formula to the gene splicing for Kanun, creator of the beings of this cycle. The Muslims and Hebrews called him El Khaliq, or Kalak, or Ha-Kalak. But in Egypt, he was not the creator, but just one of the many creators, Kalahwin. You see where the Hebrews and Muslims got the name from Kalahwin, which is Kanun. Also in the Nun, or chaos, this is El Nawir, the light. He awoke from eons of slumber and opening his mouth issued the first sound, Kaun, of the Big Bang, a word the Muslims borrowed also for the existence and the first sound, Kun Fayakun, Quran 36:82. This original sound assumed form and became the first 8 sea beings, 4 females and 4 males, the Ogdwad, the elemental forces that existed before human creation. These reptilians existed in the great abyss or dark sea called Nun. Again, the Muslims use this Nun as the sea creature in their Quran. The 68th chapter begins with Nun, creation, and Jonah's whale. They also dedicate whole chapters in the Quran to the sun, as Shamsa, Quran chapter 91, and Moon, El-Qamar, Quran chapters 54, and stars, and Nujuim, Quran chapter 53, and even the zodiac, El-Baruj, Quran 85. Then it was said, "Let there be light," or Nur, light, and Nar, fire, in their holy books, Torah and Quran, all from Egypt, and there came 1 hydrogen and 2 helium. The birth of the new sun, the physical sun. Tehuti was called the heart and tongue, which means that he possesses the reason and power, sound right reasoning, to utter divine words, and hence is called divine wisdom. In mortals, the intellect controlled by will and directed by mind is wisdom. In ancient Egypt, a mortal thus evolved was called a creature of the light, or a brother of the 3 degrees of the blinding light. Light exists in darkness. Religion blinds. It's the Noor, light, and the Na, fire. Noor, the light as knowledge to heaven. Nar, their fire of knowledge to hell. But in both cases, you must die to find out if all you have been taught in your 3 degrees of religions is true. In monotheism, 1, Mosesism, 2, Christism, and 3, Mohammedism. And there are many denominations, sects, and groups. They all worship the dead and ghost spirit forces by whichever name they choose. It all leads to being dead to get your reward. Spookism. Tehuti, along with Anubu or Anubis, are the judges of the dead, the redeemers and balancer of all worlds, the recording angels, so to speak, the judgment of the soul and the balance, and the har of Asaru, Osiris, called the weighing of words and actions. Action is the meaning of the words of power, not the words of religion, which are the words of man. All knowledge, and knowledge of your creation, your health, your death, is your knowledge, wisdom and understanding, kept by this Nitir, supreme being Tehuti, in the ancient Egyptian order AEO, and Ashutat, prayer is said, as you stand before him in the midst of the Holy of Holies shrine temple, the Black Pyramid. I, as your child, O Tehuti, ask that you, most holy supreme being, heal me and, you say the name of the person, protect me and, name of the person, with your best protection. I ask that you fill me with your divine love. That is your spiritual soul surround me, and you put the name of the person at all time. And O most holy Tehuti, supreme being who guide all through the paths and trials of the afterlife, I ask you to link my soul with the many souls of my own bloodline, mother to grandmother, and to the great-grandmother, seed to seed, blood to blood, link back to your most holy being. I call on you to call on, and he put the name of the deceased, to see the candle I lit in their name and to bring them near to you. Forgive them for what they knew not when they worshiped other than their own family and blood link. Tehuti, I call to you to transfer by Hanu a portion of your healing, protecting soul to my Shawapti of you, that I may keep it with me in my own home as a protection and healing. As I stand before you, I fall on my knees and humble myself to you, most sacred, holy, supreme being, Tehuti. Protect the family in this life and the life to come. You then kneel before the Nitir, supreme being, and say, O Tehuti, opener of the ways, the roads of the west. O Tehuti, opener of the ways, the roads of the north, the recorder between supreme beings and mortals, displaying alternatively a face of the abyss bird and the baboon. He is equally watchful by day as by night. May Tehuti make my brain firm so that I may remember. I have washed myself in the water wherein the Supreme Being, Tehuti, washed when he performed the office of recorder and witness. My brain is the brain of Tehuti. There has been a great deal written about this great Egyptian Nitir, Supreme Being, notwithstanding the countless references to his teachings and the many works upon religions today. This is whom they all worship in monotheism. The many earnest searchers after the right knowledge, right wisdom, and the right understanding, outright truths, will doubtless welcome the appearance of the improved present scroll. The purpose of this work is to set the record straight, not a new doctrine, but rather it is to give to the students of ancient Egyptian order a statement of the truth that will serve to reconcile the many bits of religious knowledge that blinded them all their lives, that they may have the facts, not beliefs, and the faith of all religions, which are apparently opposed to each other and which often serve to discourage and disgust the beginner in their quest. My intent is to erect a new temple of knowledge and place in the hands of a student a master key, Ankh, with which they may open the many inner doors in the temple of mystery through the main portals he and or she has already entered. There is in no portion of the Egyptian teachings possessed by the world which have been so closely guarded as the fragments of the great Hierophant Tehuti's teachings, which have come down over thousands of years, which have elapsed since the lifetime of its great founder. Tehuti, the scribe of the Nitirat, supreme beings who dwelt in old Tamaray, in the days where the present race of Hyksos or Canaanite, Hebrew, and or Greek were not yet grafted into existence, which took place only 6,000 years ago, contemporarily with Atumbre, and because the legends be true and in structure of the venerable teacher Tehuti, was and is the great central sun of all mystical orders, whose knowledge serves to remove the mystery of light is truth. When Supreme Being dwelled in darkness first, and then said, "Let there be light," light blinds. It's an outside force. The countless teachings which have been promulgated since his time All the fundamental and basic teachings embedded in the esoteric teachings of every school is traced back to Tehuti. Even the most ancient teachings of India, Tibet, and Sumeria undoubtedly have their roots in the original Egyptian teachings, which there would be no Bible or Quran in existence. From the land of the Ganges, many advanced occultists wandered to the land of Egypt and sat at the feet of the master. All Greek masters as well went to Egypt to learn, and from him they obtained a very small portion of the truth, which explained and reconciled their divergent views, and thus the secret teacher was firmly established. Even your Moses and Jesus had their start in Egypt, and great Moorish teachers of the West, Noble Drew Ali and Dus Ali, had their teachings out of Egypt. From other lands also came the learned ones, all of whom regarded Tehuti as their master of masters. The great Hierophant Tehuti and his influence was so great that in spite of the many wanderings from the path on the part of centuries of teachers in these different lands, there is still the secret teachings called Ha-Ka, his mystical teachings as found today from the ancient Egyptian order only, and correspondence with underlies, the many and often quite divergent groups that use his holy names and taught by the occultists of these different lands today. The student of comparative religion will be able to perceive the influence of Ha-Ka, the teachings of Tehuti, and every religion worthy of the name, now known to man as Mosesism, Christism, Muhammadism, Buddhism, Taoism, and all others. Whether it might be a dead religion or one in full vigor in our own times with new names, there is always a certain correspondence in spite of the contradictory features, and the Tehuti teachings act as the great reconciler. The life work of Tehuti seems to have been in the direction of planting the seed and planting the great seed truth, right knowledge, right wisdom, and the right understanding, producing sound, right reasoning, nuapu, which will take you from behind the nine ball, which has grown and blossomed in so many strange forms, rather than to establish a school of philosophy which would dominate the world's thought. But nevertheless, the original truths taught by him have been kept intact in their original purity by a few men and women in each age who, refusing great numbers of half-developed students and followers, followed Ha-Ka, Tehuti's secrets, and reserved their facts, best kept secrets, best kept sacred, for the few who were ready to comprehend and master it. From lip to ear, the truth has been handed down among the few. Mum's the word, if you know what I mean. There have always been a few initiates in each generation in the various lands of the earth who kept alive the sacred wisdom of Tehuti's teachings, Ha-Ka, as it was called, and such has always been willing to use their minds to reteach the lesser minds of the outside world about the darkness of truth great in them, and put out the blinding light of the torch barrier, Lucifer, or Lucifer, that spreads its brightest through faiths and beliefs, a light that is lit. A light that is lit, cut on, ignited, but does and did not always exist as dark. Calling light knowledge is a fact, for knowledge is simple to know something, and things happen with the light. But true existence is the pure state in which light is cut off, which created the reason to neglect facts. And when the wicks became dim with foreign matter, such as religious beliefs, there were always a few who tend to alter of the truth. Facts, keepers of the temple, upon which was kept the secrets, the perpetual truth of existence before the light. These beings devoted their lives to the labor of love, which the poet has so well stated in his lines. Oh, let the flame die out. Its light blinds, cherished age after age in its darkness, in which deity dwelled before saying, let there be light. In its holy temples cherished, fed by pure keepers of love, let the flame die out, the chaos. These men and women have never sought popular approval. They were always hated, called cults of all kinds. They are indifferent to these things, for they know how few there are in each generation who are ready for the real truth. But now the time has come for Sehu, mummy, to get up out of the neb ankh, or sarcophagus, of religion. Many of them hide in everyday life, acting like all others, going to many synagogues, churches, mosques, acting like the best of Muslims, Christians, or Jews, but keeping the secret sacred in their heart until just the right time. And now is that time to confer this to those mummies and let them claim their rightful throne, who would recognize the truth if it were presented to them. They reserve the strong minds where others furnish the milk for babies. They reserve their pearls of wisdom for the few elect, who want the pure honey, who recognize their value, and who wear them in their namuzat, headdress. Instead of casting them before the materialistic worshippers, the Heka Hasut or Heskos of today, cursed seed of Canaan, who would trample the truth about the ancient Egyptians in the mud and mix them with their disgusting mental food, religions. These men have never forgotten or overlooked the original teachings of Tehuti regarding the passing on of the words of truth to those ready to receive it. They become Hebrews, Christians, or Muslims, just to wait the time to give the real truth, Nuapu, which teachings is stated in the sacred records of Atum Re, also called the Black Book, the Holy Tablet, as follows. Only a fool ducks when the truth is thrown at them. And again, I came giving you what you want, so you would learn to want what I have to give. But their customary attitude has always been strictly in accordance with the other Egyptian teachings, also in the sacred records of Tama-Re, also called the Gold Book. This I know. There are those who have criticized this attitude of the ancient Egyptian order and who have claimed that they did not manifest the proper spirit in their policy of seclusion and reticence. But a moment's glance back over the pages of time will show the wisdom of the masters who knew the folly of attempting to teach the world that which was neither ready or willing to receive. No, we did not worship the rock or stone of the statues of our ancestors or rulers, but rather who and what they mean and meant to us. The ancient Egyptian order have never sought to be martyrs and have instead sat silently aside and inside other religions with a pitying smile on their closed lips. While the religious fools rage noisily about them, claim that they know Yahweh, Jah, God, or Allah, and have the truth, and their customary amusement of putting to death and torture the honest but misguided enthusiasts who imagined that they could force upon a cursed seed of barbarians the truth capable of being understood only by the elect, Nuapu, who have advanced along the path of the 3 degrees of ignorance, Mosesism, Christism, Muhammadism, and the many sects they preach, and move on past this mysticism and fictions for the truth. And the spirit of persecution has not as yet died out in the land they dwelled. There are certain ancient Egyptian order teachings which, if publicly promulgated, would bring down upon the teachers a great cry of scorn and revilement from the multitude, who would again raise the cry of cult. In this little work, I have endeavored to give you an idea of the fundamental doctrines of the ancient Egyptian order, striving to give you the working teachings, leaving you to apply them yourselves rather than attempting to work out the teaching in detail. You are a true student. You will be able to work out and apply these doctrines. If not, then you must develop yourself into one. For otherwise, the ancient Egyptian order teachings will be as words to you. The 4 supreme grand hierophants, masters, Pa-Nitir Kanum, Kanumus, Pa-Nitir Anubu, Anubis, Pa-Nitir Kansu, Khensu, Pa-Nitir Tehuti, Thoth, known as the four winds. Question: who is Nitir Kanum? Answer: Kanum was from Sanu or Sanu, Aswan, which is Nubia or Tadahisi, Sudan, at Elefante Island at the northern part of the first cataract of the Nile. Pa-Nitir Kanum, the supreme being Kanum, was part of a triad. Kanum is number 1, 2, Satet, and 3, Atet. He is the Nitir supreme being of creation. He created human beings from mud fashioned into shape or black mud. He is the God who created in the Bible, Torah, of the Jews, and the Allah, El Khaliq, in the Quran. Of the Muslims as God, it's Khaliqun, a creator. The same attributes as their God of creation who molded human beings in his or their image and after their likeness of the dust, clay, mud of the earth, the us or we in your Bible or Quran in Kanum's triad. As they said in Genesis 1:26, a God, Elohim, said, "Let us make man, Adam, in our image, in our own image, after our likeness." However, Kanum predates both the Torah, Bible of the Jews and Christians, and the Quran of the Muslims. Now you tell us, how can the name of the gods be that close and the very story of creation be the same unless it was taken from the Egyptians? And they were, all of them. You have more than one creation in your holy books. The first is the creation of the angelic beings, the Malaikat. After that, you have the gods, Elohim. And after that, the Yahweh Elohim. And then the Adams and the Eves. And don't forget the Nahash, or serpent. Kanum is the one who got the script or the chemical chart in the form of DNA on how to create a being in their image and after their likeness. The Elohim created the black man, the original Asiatic black man, the Hindu. Genesis 1:26 through 27. Black skin, straight hair, unlike the original green-skinned god with woolly hair, as the green hue of the Ethiopians. The race of Hindu or Aryans were spirit forces is from Nirvana, their own heaven, created a man and woman in Genesis 2:7, and in their own image and after their own likeness. This Adam was alike in all ways, but skin color, he was ghost or transparent in skin and had white thin hair with colorless eyes. He was evil by nature. From this seed was also born the blonde, yellow hair, blue-eyed, six-ether beings who has more than transparent skin, but has an infectious disease called leprosy, the cursed seed of Canaan. Genesis 9:2 and Leviticus 13:14. All this began by the four higher races of beings. 1. The Neteru or Nitiru in Egypt. 2. The Anunnaki, Sumer. 3. The Nomos, Mali. 4. The Elul and the heavens. All together called Nitirat, the gods, the supreme beings. The Negro race is the sons and daughters of these gods, and as such they are also gods, the children of the Most High. Kanum is Allahu, El Khaliq, but Tehuti is the one who writes and records or records the formula as Nitir of the Nitiru, the being who came on the Manjet and landed in Sudan, Africa. Kanum was the actual alchemist, and Tehuti was the one who logs the actual act. Tehuti overseered the project, like Inki overseered the project of Ninkti of the Anunnaki, the being who came on Nibiru and crashed down in the Persian Gulf. Kanum's job was to take the beings that are hermaphrodites and hybrids who couldn't procreate and make them into beings that can reproduce in cycles of 9. Spinning of the universe of procreations had several failures and produced a bunch of deformed beings. Albinism is one mistake of what's called ghost people before they got it right by breaking the potter's wheel.
All right, take a little breather. Anybody want to add on or have anything they want to say? Any type of questions? Anything? While she's,
it's interesting. It's interesting to me that he was like, did he say Tehuti was the one that landed in Sudan in a Menjet?
Those your people.
Who did it say? Did it say Adam had blonde hair, blue eyes?
Adam was alike in all ways, but skin color, he was ghost or transparent in skin and had white thin hair with colorless eyes.
So like, they talking about Canaan.
Yeah, there are different versions. You gotta remember the Flugeride was created. Canaan was albino. That's what he looked like he described him, but he said was straight hair.
Nah,
Yeah.
I got confused like for a second, but then I just realized that like in Adam is basically like a new beginning of like a new type of man. So I guess Canaan would be considered an Adam. No, because I was for a second I was trying to compare him to the other Adam, but then I realized.
Yeah. But you got it right though. New beginning, like a new start is Adam.
Wow. And it said Inky crashed down in the Persian Gulf. Well, Anunnaki being who came in Nibiru crashed down in the Persian Gulf. Tehuti said crashed down in Sudan. That's interesting. I gotta go ponder on that one.
Tell you.
Khanum, trying to figure out Khanum. Yeah, that's in the that's one of the deities, but I'm just now. I guess it's my first time hearing him in the story.
Yeah, you chant his name at the end, Ashertat.
Oh, so it says the goose that laid. So the whole giant in the sky with the goose and the golden eggs came from his story.
Yeah, it was everything from Egypt. Breaking down, using all the stuff from Egypt in the Torah and the Quran. They was taking everything from Egypt and creating their little stories from it. Just like he said when he was reading. When she was reading in here, but he was breaking out everything was coming from Egypt. Everything was coming from Tehuti. They was taking Tehuti stuff and they was watering it down into their own doctrines.
So when it says Khanum created the gods, the cosmic egg, right? So like, are they talking about like he was a scientist in the development of the human evolution type of thing?
And genetic, dealing with genetic part of this, the science of creation.
So he created the egg, but like I thought it was like Inky that created like the egg.
I knew you would go.
Tua, you're talking about creating the eggs, or you're talking about genetically splicing and mixing in a lab? Eggs did exist when they land down here. They used the egg of the the creature that evolved here and mix it with the eggs of divine mothers, or I should say, the scientists.
Seven.
Because then you're gonna have to ask the same question when it comes down to Ninti. Like, I thought Ninti was the creator of man, but you got to remember it was a lab full of scientists.
And all of them was called Khanum. That was the title as well, Khanum.
Everything is a title.
Khanum means creators, so they was all considered like Khanum.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, but he was one of the scientists.
Who was something I wanted to say again? Something I caught when he said Tehuti was the keeper of the 46 records. That sounds like it's talking about like the 46 chromosomes or something to me.
Yep, he was dealing with DNA. He wasn't the only one.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. That's all I got to say for right now.
But involving in the creation of, us, you know what I mean? Nubian,
Mm-hmm.
say Nubian, you know, for he was.
Mm-hmm.
They had other extraterrestrials that come down, you know what I mean? They're still messing with genes to this day, and they're great. They're different, you know. Then you had the one coming from Nirvana that started tapping on things. Then you had, you know, many different scientists was coming in and started mixing in with the seed, went in onto the seeds, you know, with the DNA of men and the genes of men on this planet. And so you have that Bulakhanum. Yes, he was one. That's basically a title for a specific being. You could be talking about the same deity with different names, because you got to realize that most deities, a lot of deities have more than one title to represent them, depending on the occupation they're known for.
They changed the system from using the laboratory tubes and started inserting it inside of females. Khnum gave the power to procreate to female through mitochondria DNA, which gives her the power to give birth. Mito is from Greek mitos, meaning warp thread, and chondria is from Greek chondrion, diminutive of chondrios, meaning grain or granule. In Nubia, Sudan, he was known as the Dun. The Pygmies called him Khnum, the supreme god, god of the rainbow, the actual 7 spheres that protects this planet from the rays of the sun. Genesis 9:13-16, god of the hunters, the human beast who kills for fun and sport. This bow was made of 2 serpents, the waters above and the waters below, and is visible to mortals as a rainbow. As you can see, these original Tahites had the name first. In time, it became Khnum, the one who molded the body and breathes life into them. So he was the Natir, supreme being of fertility, and the potter, El Musawir, the fashioner. When Khnum fashioned and shaped each being from black clay, he would also make their double called the Ka, spirit or you, alongside of them. Male and female created he, them, and called their name Adam. One being, 2 parts, Genesis 5:2. They would also have to become one in time, body and spirit. The Nasuf, oneself. So we get the cat, body, ba, soul, and ka, spirit. Your own real Trinity. The 3-part you as God. All others only have a duad, 2 parts lacking, ba, the soul. This is where all of your religions got their stories from. Khnum created each being and allotted them 120 years of physical life in the light. And eternity is the next state of existence, in the pure and holy darkness in which all true supreme beings resides. To him, 1,000 years of earth time was 1 day. It was Khnum who created the cosmic egg. The goose that laid the golden egg comes from this story. Creator of both supreme beings and mortals, Negroes, supreme beings, Mongoloids, Caucasoid, and other mortals. The Greeks, who are also Hebrew, from Noah's grandson Javan, son of Japheth, translates his name as Kenomis or Kenumis. He is shown as a man with a ram's head, very similar to Amun, the hidden name, the secret word. Even in the Bible and Revelation 3:14, all prayers end with this name. Caucasians worship him as the goat of Baphomet or Mendes, but his horns were wavy as opposed to Amun's sweeping curves. A species of sheep possessing horns like these was Aus long peeps Paleo-Egypticos. It is now extinct. They try to make you see the goat and the ram as the same animal, when in actuality, they are 2 separate creatures. Samael, or Azazel, was known as the scapegoat, not the scape ram. So their trick is to make you think that the ram was a disagreeable creature, as the goat was synonymous with evil. But they are two different animals. So the trick used today is all the satanic cults and worshipers use the ram as their symbol to make you think that the ram was evil. And that way reverse the symbol of Ra in ancient Egypt, which was a ram, into an evil symbol. Khnum's first wife, Anubis, is shown wearing the feather of the red parrot, a bird restricted to Sudan, Africa. His second wife was Satis, who was also his daughter by Anubis. Her name means she who runs like an arrow. She is holding a bow and arrow, and Greek link her with Hera, daughter of Kronos, son of Uranus, and Gaia, and Rhea. So all the Greek gods came through him and his family, which came from Ta-Nehisi, Sudan. And Canaanites, white ghost people, worship Egyptian Netirat, supreme beings. Also Arabs too. And many just don't know the truth. Satis or Sati is also linked to Sepet, Septept or Siptu, which the Greeks called Sotheus, also called Cyrus, the dog star. Satis is seen with a 5-pointed star upon her head. She was the Netirt of the sunbeam, as the sun illuminates the world. Khnum is also known as Kinimu, Nif, Kinif, and Shinupis, the maker of souls of the Netirat, supreme beings, and the spirits of the Inosat, or Inosat, mortals, by the use of the higher faculties while functioning in the physical body. The mind is enlightened by the spiritual Anukis or Anuket, also called Noki or Noki, Netirt of the net, to live the life in the physical regardless of one's personal responsibility, demanding that one's right be respected, but ignoring the obligation to respect the rights of others. She was guardian over will, choice given by her mate to each creator he created. To respect other rights of choice is to wear the net of Anubis. So Khnum is birth, creation, life itself. So he is one of the 4 points in existence. A prayer is said as you stand before him in the midst of the Holy of Holies, Shrine Temple, the Black Pyramid, which reads, I, as your child, O Khnum, ask that your most holy supreme beings heal me and, you put the name of a person, protect me and, you put the name of the person again, with your best protection. I ask that you fill me with your divine love, that your spiritual soul surround me and, you put the name of the person, at all time, and O most holy Khnum supreme being who guide all through the paths and trials of the afterlife, I ask you to link my soul with the many souls of my own bloodline, mother to grandmother, and to great-grandmother, seed to seed, blood to blood, link back to your most holy being. I call on you to call on, in the name of the deceased person, to see the candle I lit in their name and to bring them near you. Forgive them for what they knew not when they worshiped other than their own family and blood link. Khnum, I call to you to transfer by Hanu a portion of your healing, protecting soul to my Shawapti, of you, that I may keep it with me in my own home as a protection and healing. As I stand before you, I fall on my knees and humble myself to you, most holy supreme being, Khnum. Protect the family in this life and the life to come. You will kneel before the Netir, supreme being, and say, O Khnum, opener of the ways, the roads of the east. O Khnum, opener of the ways, the roads of the south, the fashioner of those created beings, displaying a face of the ram with the wavy horns. There at birth and there at death, he is equally watchful by day as by night. May Khnum make my legs firm so that I may stand upon them. I have washed myself in the water wherein the supreme being Khnum washed when he performed the office of creating and molding and the blowing in of the spirit. My spirit is the spirit of Khnum. Who is the Netir? Khonsu. Khonsu, son of Amun and Mut, was the third member of the tribe of Nu Amun, Thebes. The Greek called Khonsu Hercules, son of Zeus, and Alkmene, slayer of the giants, destroyer of evil monsters, the righter of wrong. Khonsu is most often seen as a young man wrapped as a mummy with the one braid of hair on the right side of his bald head. This is why the Nuwapians wear one braid. Khonsu's symbol was the upright crescent moon over his head, carrying in his hand, which sticks out from his bindings, the was, or crook or staff, and the ku, flail, rod of Ta, a symbol of overcoming death, resurrection, and rulership, from which the 23rd Psalm got it, attributed to David, but it was in fact from Akhenaten. Psalm 23, verse 1 through 6, a psalm of David. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. As the moon comes and goes, so also in the meaning of his name as a moon nitir, supreme being. The moon comes again each new month, so also your health can be renewed with a 30-day fast or cleansing. The Muslims got the Ramadan, which means hot month, talking about the effect of the sun's heat. So it's sun worship and moon worship. They got Ramadan from Khonsu, and it's waiting for the new moon to break their sahwun, fasting, all from the Egyptians. The points are broken up into 3 sets of 10 days to purify the body, as the woman's body cleanses itself each month with her menstruation, which works with the movement of the moon. Khonsu was the aide of Tehuti, as his helper and recorder of the health and state of being as to who lives or dies. He is the one who writes the names on the leaves of the sacred tree of life and death. He also helps Tehuti in recording all passing time, the keeper of change, a seraphim, meaning those of fire, the master healer of the sick and protector against all evil spirits, ghosts, 6 ether spirit forces of evil, the one who chased away evil in all forms, the originator of exorcists for evil spirits. For evil spirits are the source of all illness. So all physicians have to be wise in the black magic of casting away evil white magic, spirit forces, those lost spirits who can't escape this realm, their unholy ghost. Their God or Lord who can do evil, Exodus 32:14. So they plague the weak, sick, young, and old. The sick were taken to his temple by family and friends. Khonsu cured all their illnesses because to us, Egyptians, all illnesses were caused by demons. You got your virus, your microbes, your germs, your bacteria, your jinn, your demons, evil spirits, and devils, getting into the human body by way of its openings, the nostrils, mouth, eyes, ears, genitals, or open cuts or sores, and from your waist tracts. He also had his power transferred into the Shawapti Hejidwe, the Great One, smaller structure or smaller statue, that he imparted his Hanu, or movement power, into, so that he would be there to ward off evil attacking anywhere. His image is required to achieve a cure. Also, his symbol was the baboon, who sat at the judgment hall of Osiris, and as a man with the head of a hawk, just as a Nitir, supreme being, Sokar, of Hetkapta, Memphis, the spirit guard of tombs, 1 of the triad, 1 Ta, 2 Sokar, the hawk, a master of split-second timing, its eyes color of the sun at sunrise, and 3 Asaru. He was also called Konoms and the navigator. A shrine temple was built for him at Ombos, the golden Nub, or Nupti, or Nuapu, a land inhabited by Nupans from pre-dynastic times, also dedicated to the Nitir, the supreme being Satuh, Set. You will find his story of the power healing on the Ventress Stela, which relates to the story of Ramses II at New Amun, Thebes. When you call on him, you use Khonsu Nefrir Hotep of Warit or Karnak, the exerciser, and Nitir, supreme being of love. He can mend your love life or help you with it, help to heal a marriage just for the asking, and also helps with birth and fertility with the secret schools of Re, the ancient Egyptian order, the young order of Horus, the Amun and Amunet. He is also known as Konunshor, Kensu, or Kenshu. In all ceremonies, there was food and drink offerings to Amun, his consort, Mut, and their son, Khonsu. So his Ren, name, is said before all meals that the food be healthy and nourishing as well as safe. He also puts salt on the table as medicine. A prayer is said as you stand before him in the midst of the Holy of Holies shrine, temple, the Black Pyramid, and also before you eat, which reads, I, as your child, O Khonsu, ask that your most holy supreme being heal me and, name of the person, protect me and, the name of the person, with your best protection. I ask that you fill me with your divine love, that your spiritual soul surround me and, the name of the person, at all time, and O most holy Khonsu, supreme being who guide all through the paths and trials of the afterlife, I ask you to link my soul with the many souls of my own bloodline, mother to grandmother and to great-grandmother, seed to seed, blood to blood, link back to your most holy being. I call on you to call on the name of the deceased, to see the candle I lit in their name and to bring them near to you. Forgive them for what they knew not when they worshipped other than their own family and blood link. Khonsu, I call on you to transfer by Hanu a portion of your healing, protecting soul to my Shawatbi of you, that you may keep it with me in my own home as a protection and healing. As I stand before you, I fall on my knees and humble myself to my most holy supreme being, Khonsu. Protect the family in this life and the life to come. You then kneel before the Nitir supreme being and say, O Khonsu, opener of the ways, the roads of the south. O Khonsu, opener of the ways, the roads of the west, the traveler between spirit and body, displaying alternatively a face of the hawk and the falcon, with the crescent and the disk sun upon the head. He is equally watchful by day as by night. May Khonsu make my heart firm so that I may stay strong. I have washed myself in the water wherein the Supreme Being Khonsu washed when he performed the office of healing and curing. My heart is the heart of Khonsu. Prayer before you eat. As we sit down at this table on our plate, we ask the Supreme Being Khonsu Nefrir Hotep to show us grace, give us nourishment and health, and keep us safe from evil. And we are grateful to the Supreme Beings, our ancestors and keepers and protectors, for this meal we are about to eat, which they have provided, to nourish our bodies and souls and give us strength and health. So before we eat that which you have provided, we would like to give thanks. May you protect us from illness and disease, nourish us and keep us healthy and strong. For this we are ever grateful. Who is the Nitir Anubu? The name Anubis is from the root word Ibis, awakener, master of the house in Egypt. He is known as Anbu or Anpu, even Anub. In the ancient Egyptian mystery language, the letter B could replace the letter P. So you see Anbu or Anpu, Nuapians or Nuwabians. Anubu was the son of Osiris, and Nebhet, Nephthys. Death is his trademark, opener of the roads for the dead, the guide of the next life. He presided over embalming rituals and received many pleas in the mortuary prayer, recited on behalf of deceased Egyptians, known all over Egypt and all over the world. Anubu, Anubis, is known as the black jackal dog. All people of the world wear black at funerals. Funeral. When in fact, white was the death color to Samarayat, Egyptians. Egyptians wore white to funerals, not black. And the monotheistic religions like Islam, Judaism, and Christianity, they wear white because they live for death. And after life, they have no regards for this life. Their god Allah is an unseen spirit, a ghost, the dead, necromancy. All their religions teach us about what they will receive after their death, so they live in a funeral state. So they prefer white. In fact, there is no such thing as a black jackal with a bushy tail. This was a symbol of the keen sense of the cannabis dog. Especially they hear what humans can't. They see better and smell much greater. Anubu is the perfect guide into the unknown dark. Also, he was one of the judges and protector of the dead. Then you have Ketimentiu, the Nitir supreme being who rules the destiny of the dead, keeper of the souls, the protector of tombs, and Pamir Karat, the pyramid text. Anubis is described as the son of Ra, and given a daughter, a Nitir, supreme being of freshness. In time, he lost both of the attributes and became classed with Asaru, Osiris, as the son of Asaru, Osiris, and Nephthys, who was also Setuk's, Seth's wife. Setuk, Set, could not have offspring, and Nephthys wanted a son. So she asked her sister Aset, Isis, and they took it to the alchemist Khnum and Khonsu, who implanted her with Osiris' seed, and she gave birth to Anupu. This resulted in a hate feud between Osaru and Setuk. Anubu invented the mortuary rites. He also helped Isis find the 13 body parts of the 14 missing parts of his father, Osiris. Osiris' body was cut up by his brother Set, for having his wife Netet produce a son by him. Anubis became known as the master of mummy wrapping, and he led the dead to the judgment hall. Behind Anubis stands Tehuti, the master scribe of the Nitirat, supreme beings, who presides over weighing of the heart against the feather of Ma'at, truth. Also behind him stands a being, which is part Akir, lion, part Kabul, hippopotamus, and part crocodile. She is called Amit, the devourer, also spelled Aminat, who devours the unjust. Anubu, or Anubis, is the master of the silent land, guide to the world of the western gate, where the sun sets, symbol of death. He was associated with the Eye of Ra, or Eye of Ra, which he needed to see in the dark of eternity, the original abode of all supreme beings. Anubu, or Anubis, the jackal-headed Natir, supreme being, is called the Barker, or the Awakener, the messenger between this life and the next state of being, between heaven and hell. It is conscience, which awakens all to your personal responsibilities and approves that which we do right knowingly and disapproves that which we do wrong. As the dog leads the blind, so also Anubu, or Anubis, will lead the dead of your family, your beloved ones. So ask him to take care of your dead and loved ones. Once your leaf hits the ground, it is he who picks it up and comes for your soul. He is also seen as a crouching black dog. At the very end, with all land is black, the sun bark of Ra, or Re, passes through the 12th hour division of night and duat. The 13th hour has come. The black rules the land. At eventide, sunset, the light goes down. When the Natir is a tomb, he is old and very frail. 57 invocations are chanted to give him power to overcome the demons who are his enemies. He then enters the western gate, though which the dead mortal souls pass through to be judged before Osiris. In front of him walks the proud black jackal, Natir supreme being, with the red scarf of blood of life around his neck. This is the great Nitir supreme being Anubis, for he is the opener of the ways.
Poor. All right, we got to, only a couple of minutes left, 3 minutes left to the end of this shadow hour. So we will stop right here. Anybody got anything they want to say or anything? Poor.
from an experience I had with my aunt, you know, she's basically on her deathbed. She was like literally like they called everybody to the hospital because they were basically pulling the plug on her. You know, she had like a breathing machine. She couldn't breathe on her own. And the experience was I don't know how to describe it in words, but at the end of the day, what I did have the Anubis prayer for the deceased. I'd had access, you know, I had that scroll and I was reading from it, and the experience was like I say, it's so hard to just put it in words, but what the experience was, I was able to sense that my aunt was like, I don't want to say afraid, but like she didn't want to go. She kept opening her eyes. It was a weird experience. But when I read that prayer and I was rubbing her head, like trying to ease her and soothe her, it's like once I read that prayer, it's like she let go in a sense. Not, and you know what I mean? It's like she relaxed. I guess she was tense and then she just relaxed. And that experience, it was weird. Like it was so weird to the point where it's almost like she needed help getting over, you know what I mean? Like she needed some type of assistance, and it's just like after reading that prayer, she really like just relaxed, and it was just a weird experience. And reading and hearing her read that, it brought me back to that moment, and I just wanted to share that because like it was like a comforting. It was like I don't know.
I know what you're saying. It's just one of those unique experiences.
But it felt good. I was happy that it happened for her because I got a sense of that she was okay. Yeah.
That's good. All right, anybody else? Before we close it out with all that information, and thank you, Tehuti, to all of y'all that showed up, family, this Shadow Hour. All right, so Nev, can you take us out?
Abdul Kur Bazon Tap of the Tet, but down at mouth, you had this ice should be in a color. Anuki Fian ice you should call the Wakula Shikalu. Not the Kula Pikalu. Anuki Fer Gun Shikalu Wakaluka Ferragunshi. Anuki Wahid Kakalu Wakaluka Wahid Man. Nuk Aikilu, Anji, Kama Ferragun Shikalu Wakama Feidu. Nuk Aikilu, Ahueno Kodik Nuka Fizi Fikalu. Kama Tawukama Kafazi Kaluni, Ami Pikalu. Anuki Kaba Hawa, Kaluka Luna Nuki, Kalu Yaku Nukeki, Kaluba Amu Nukabi. Begin our prayer, thinkings, and deeds with who divine love and all. I am in the love of all, and all love is me. We are all in all. I am a part of all, and all is a part of me. I am one with all, and all is one. I can succeed as a part of all and fail as an individual. I can be all I wish and all, as long as my wish is to stay in all. I am never alone. All is I am. All can I can. All does I do. Begin our prayers, thinkings, and deeds with who divine love and all. Prayer the aiders, propagators of peace, O Heavenly One, the Most High, who is the standard of all the worlds. We do accept the duty you lay on us to clean up the filth made by the disagreeable ones and their hosting us so many fools. O my sustainer, we beseech you to keep your hand over us to control the strings of the course of our lives. Our sustainer, if we do wrong, please show our divine blessings and forgiveness on us. You are the only one that can rise as true fathers to the news bearers. And in thy name we carry on and answer for all. Cool.
Cool. Tell that family, we're gonna try to continue with that same scroll, next time, same place, same time. Tell you, y'all. All right, good shit.
Good shit.
Good shit.
Cool.